what a morning it has been. I mean, listening to both panels, the one that I chaired and the one that was headed by Oliver, absolutely fascinating what's happening in the space of activism and active citizenry in this country, but also just taking a stroll down memory lane with those who were there before and, of course, after the dawn of democracy. And right now, we're going to venture into the arts. And as you can see, two people who need absolutely no introduction, but we'll do it as due diligence. And I'm joined, of course, by our very own Tandega, PJ Powers, and Professor Pitika Ntuli. Thanks so much to both of you for coming through. And we are, of course, on the eve of the democracy breakthrough on the 27th of April 1994, and we are now 30 years on. Let's reflect a little in terms of the arts, what was going on and how far we've come. Prof, perhaps I could start with you.
When we started with the RDP, Reconstruction and Development, with a very clear program, we introduced ACTEC, the Arts and Culture Task Team. And the Arts and Culture Task Team was to delineate where the arts are going to be, arts in schools, arts in higher education, arts in creative cities. But then again, always as usual, in our country we suffer from a very serious disease called continuous discontinuity. We start very brilliant things, then we put them and we throw them away. We come up with a national curriculum statement for further education, a brilliant document that could have Africanized our children, and then we drop it. So we can just go on and on. But it does look like there are some new changes that are coming, which maybe we are going to pick up in terms of the creative industries and culture.
PJ, from your side, you know, just looking back, the performing arts, and I'm reminded of the days when the stadia would be filled to capacity, when we're talking 100,000 strong crowds that would cram into a stadium, be it for a football match, a festival, or a combination of the two. I mean, you know, you were there. Talk to us about that and how the transition subsequently has gone.
I was there, and whilst politically we were a disaster in those days, I must be honest that from an artist's point of view, it was nirvana. You know, every single weekend we would go to Jabulani Amphitheatre or Jabavu or anywhere in the country, and as you say, perform to this incredible crowd. And of course, me being embraced by the black people in this country way back in 1983 was my biggest gift that I've ever received, and still remains the biggest gift. So those days, and they're kind of dangerous. There was problems getting into the festivals. The SAP was always there in a Casper or in a, ready to start any number of problems. And then come 1994, and our glorious democracy, at the dawning of that, and it was, obviously we were very very happy. I never voted until I could vote, and until we could all vote. And then it kept up, the momentum kept up. I think that what Prof says about brilliant discontinuity is there's great merit in that statement, because then what happened was, what also came down was the ban, the cultural boycott, then also came down, and we started these floods of international artists came into this country, and suddenly we weren't seen. There was no talk of us. And whilst I understand the task at hand was enormous, for the government in terms of taking on an entire country, I think that the time has come. We really have to now put structures in place that protect the arts in many, many ways. One of them being international people here have got to use our crew. They've got to use local. You can't go and do a show anywhere in the world and take your own crew. You can't go and do a show anywhere. The artists and musicians, I'm talking from a music, are protected, and we need to put those structures in place now.
Right. You know what? We obviously need to speak a little bit more, and what we're doing this morning, one of the things that we are doing, of course, is that we are launching Democracy 30, yes, which is going to be a program that launches on Sunday evening at 8:30 with Oliver Dixon. And all of these discussions will be had with all of you, those who were there, because this was, of course, a turning point, but there were aspirations, as both of you have pointed out at that point. But how well have we done in terms of realizing those aspirations? You know, what have been the successes post-democracy? What have been some of the failures that we have seen? And perhaps we can speak to, you know, some of those successes, which both of you have touched on, and the failures. But in looking forward for South Africa, for the next 30 years and beyond, where do you think we can do better, Prof?
I think one of the first things is that government should increase the budget, for the arts. When you talk about cultural boycott, you realize the role that the artists themselves have played. But on some of the positive things is that the introduction of the Fantuka, legends in a program, by the former Minister Nati Mtetwa, was a very good, starting point. And then we also noticed that the National Heritage Council is also giving some awards or encouraging, people. But ultimately, the latest one, the cultural and creative industries things that Minister Zizigodwa is putting in is quite a very brilliant idea. But always in our country, what happens is that the people on top may be very brilliant, but the people that have been put down on the side there, that had been deployed actually in there, murder and maim and drink the beer of the success of others.